Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Nobody's Doing It Right, the podcast for those who are uncertain. My name is Kat. I am a self-awareness guide. I am also a writer, and I am an uncertain person as well. And I've been working on this uncertainty for a lot of my life. And now I share everything I learned through my podcast, through my TikTok, if you don't follow me on there, on my Instagram. Let's get into it. A few housekeeping things for anybody that doesn't know. I offer one-to-one chat sessions for anybody who wants to talk about topics like these in more depth, or if they want guidance or clarity on something that they're currently going through. A lot of the people I talk to say they need somebody who is between a therapist and a friend. Therapy, which I think is great. I always recommend therapy. I've been in therapy for years. So valuable, so important. And that's not what I try to do with my chat sessions. I'm not a therapist. Therapy helps you really dive deep and get to the root of things that you're struggling with based on your childhood and your upbringing, which is so important. What I try to do is give you an objective perspective about something that you're going through right now. And it's based on the kind of opinions and perspective I have that you can find on my TikTok. You'll know how I'm going to respond to what you say based on what you see me talk about on my social media platforms. So if you find my opinion and my perspective interesting and you want to talk to me about something, feel free to book a one-to-one session with me. I also offer monthly packages where we can work together and really dive deep into something that you're struggling with or you need some advice on. I also write books. I'm currently working on a self-worth handbook, all about the lessons I've learned about self-worth, how I've worked on my own, how I've grown, how I've changed. My last book was about self-expression. So if you struggle with self-expression, that might be a good book for you to start with to dive a little bit deeper into what it means to express yourself, why you might be struggling with it, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, let's get into this episode. This one might be a short one, but it's a topic that I really want to talk about because I think it's really important. And the topic is that all you need to do is show up. This is for anybody else who struggles with anxiety, who struggles with control, who struggles with overthinking, who thinks they have to plan out everything in advance and have these detailed plans and, always be worried about what they're going to do next and what it's going to look like and how they're going to do it. This is something that I have to remind myself of. And I have made a TikTok video about this. I talk about it with people all the time. You just need to show up. That's literally the only thing you need to do when it comes to anything that you're trying to achieve. You just need to show up. And this isn't new advice. People talk about this all the time. But it's so important to reiterate to yourself, to others, when you're trying to achieve anything, whatever that might be, whatever goal, relationship, if it is, career, whatever. And you're worried about what if it doesn't work out? What if I fail? What if I do this? What if I can't do this? What if it doesn't look the way I thought it was going to look? The only thing you need to worry about in this stage right now, before you've even embarked on this journey, is that you just need to show up. You just need to do whatever you think you need to do to get to where you want to be. Just do that. Just show up every day. Or it doesn't have to be every day. It just has to be consistent, right? Consistency is key. And consistency compounds. You just need to show up consistently. Just show up. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It can just be good. Good enough, right? Perfection is unachievable at the end of the day. What's perfect to one person is not perfect to another. It's subjective. And ultimately, perfection doesn't exist because nothing can be perfect. You can't be perfect. But if you have this idea in your head of, okay, I can only start this, I can only do this, I can only achieve this when I'm perfect. It's like, what does that even mean, really? Right? And how much are you holding yourself back with the, facade of, oh, I just need to be better. I just need to be perfect, right? You're probably just using this idea of perfection as a way to stop yourself from trying something because it's scary and there's a fear of failure. And I'm here to tell you that you're going to fail. It's inevitable. So right now, if that's what you're scared of, I'm scared of failing, you're going to fail. It's unavoidable. It's going to happen. So the sooner you realize the only way to get better, the only way to succeed is through failure, then you're like, okay, so what do I have to fear then if failure is going to happen anyway? There's no way to avoid that at all, other than staying exactly where you are. But that's also a failure in itself, and you're going to feel dissatisfied with that. And you're always going to be struggling with this idea of, I should have done this. I haven't met my full potential. But the potential, the growth, all that is on the other side of the failure. And the only way to get to that other side is to just show up and just do what you need to do. And, this is also for people who feel like they have imposter syndrome They get overwhelmed with the things they think they need to do. They feel like they're not good enough to even do some of that stuff. Just do it. And I know it's easier said than done, but sometimes we just need to be reminded. We need that kind of tough love advice to say, just do it. Just show up. That's it. I like to think of it as, I suffer with social anxiety at times, a lot more when I was younger. Totally. I've gotten way better at it now, but this is how I've gotten through it. I wanted to be more social. I wanted to be better at, going on dates, interacting with men, but also in social settings and groups and with people, and being able to express myself openly and not feel so uncomfortable being, authentic and whatever. The only way to do that is to literally show up. You have to just show up to that party and talk to those people. The first step is just showing up, just showing up on that date, right? The rest of what you're trying to do will fall into place. You just need to show up. You just need to be there in order to experience everything else that comes into play with the thing you're trying to achieve, right? And that's how I worked on my own social anxiety, is just, okay, I just got to show up. I just got to put myself on there. I do that with my TikTok now. I feel uncomfortable every single time I have to sit down and record something. I'm passionate about what I talk about. I deeply believe it. It's very aligned with me. And also I'm nervous about it. And I know that the only way to get over that and to really build my community and connect with people is just to show up, just to turn that camera on and just show up and sit in my little armchair that you see me in all the time and just show up in front of that camera, right? Every time before a chat session I have with clients, I get nervous every single time. I'm like, oh my God, like, what's the point of this? Who am I even? Just show up. Because every time I show up and I talk to this person, I build my skills. I cultivate those skills that help me improve, that teach me new things, that help me grow. And the only thing that I can do that I should even be worried about or thinking about is showing up in front of my desk, in front of my computer, showing up on Zoom, and that's it. And the rest will fall into place as it needs to. Now, of course, obviously, like, self-trust is tied in with this. You have to trust yourself to show up. And you have to trust yourself that when you do show up, you'll know how to handle what comes your way. And yeah, this might be, maybe this will be the next handbook I write after the self-worth one. It's the self-trust one, because it's a really important pillar to personal growth, at least my own personal journey. If you don't have self-trust, or at least a little bit of it, yes, it's hard to achieve things. It's hard to, know that you're going to show up, know that you're going to handle what you need to handle. But yeah, ultimately, you just need to show up. And this is just to allow yourself the peace of mind to know that there's not much, you don't really have to worry about as much as you think you need to worry about, right? Yes, there are so many variables to things. There's so many intricacies, so many details. Yes, and so many things could go wrong, and so many things could go great as well, right? There's so much to think about, totally. But if you overwhelm yourself with all of these things that you need to think about, you're just going to stand still, because, analysis paralysis, it's going to be just too scary to even start, because you're like, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if that doesn't happen? The only thing you need to worry about is showing up. That's it. Clear your mind of everything else for right now, not forever, just for right now. Of course, yes, you'll have to encounter these things eventually. And the fact that you're going to have to encounter them eventually means you don't have to worry about them right now, because they're going to appear anyway in your life or on your path. So why make yourself suffer twice, right? You're going to deal with all these things anyway, eventually, at some point, when they're necessary for you to deal with. So there's no point bringing them into your current reality when they're not necessary. It's not needed for them to be there. Clear your mind of all that stress, all that anxiety, and let yourself focus on the one thing, which is just to show up. This can literally apply to anything if you need to practice cultivating this ability to just show up. I always use the example of working out because it's a more like physical, tangible example, but you want to be physically more active. You want to have, you want to be better at running, faster, more muscular, whatever. The only thing you need to worry about when you set this goal for yourself is to just show up. I just have to show up at the gym. I just have to show up at my treadmill. I just have to show up in my gym clothes. Whatever that is for you, whatever that milestone point is for you of showing up, that's it. You just need to do that. And once you do that and you realize like, okay, I did it, now everything else kind of falls into place. Like, okay, I just showed up. I'm standing on my treadmill. And then you're like, okay, now what? And now the next step of what you need to do appears. And you just do that. And then the next step. And then you just do that. And then before you know it, you're somebody who is able to run a certain amount of miles, a day or whatever that is for you, right? But it really just starts with the just, like just show up, just do it. And, you know, I'm a writer, so I really value words, and semantics I think are important. I don't think semantics are ever pointless, even though I get this comment on my videos sometimes. The word just, like putting that into your vocabulary when it comes to things that are scary, overwhelming, like big, grand decisions or goals, putting the word just in there really minimizes them and makes them way less scary, at least for me. And so I try to incorporate that into everything that I do that I know is like, you know, something that I'm doing, some sort of goal that I'm trying to achieve, right? I throw in the word just, you know, I just need to record these 5 videos or whatever. I just need to write this newsletter. I just need to record this podcast, right? I just need to have these calls today. It could be for anything that's even, that is actually very overwhelming. Just throw in just. It'll like convince your brain that it's not that big of a deal. It is kind of like you're reprogramming yourself. And I love using that tool. You just need to show up. And sometimes showing up is the scariest thing. Like, you know, if you're, say, for example, I'm trying to think of what like a scary scenario is, but for me it would be public speaking to like a huge crowd of people, right? Something like that would be so scary. But, you know, if you ultimately know that this thing is important for your growth and your career or whatever, you know, you have to do it. Like, you know it deep down, but you're scared, right? Saying, you know, I just need to step on the stage in front of these thousands of people. That's it. I just need to do that. It makes it so much less intimidating, at least for me, right? And then it also signifies to yourself that you can think of it this way of just, you know, it's just this. It shows you that you trust yourself to also handle whatever comes after that, you know? Because you're not like, oh, I can't, you know, this scary thing, I need to do this and I'm so scared because I don't know what's going to happen. It's just, I just need to do it because I know that whatever comes after I do this, I'm handling it. So it's just a matter of doing this. It's just a matter of getting on that stage or whatever. You know, it just proves to you, and that's the most important thing to do, right? It proves to you that you think you're capable of doing it. Because if you don't even believe you're capable of it, then yeah, of course you're not going to want to do it. You're never going to do it. You can't look to anyone else to convince you that you're capable, because people can tell you all the time, you're great, you're amazing, you're smart, you're beautiful, whatever. But if you deep down don't believe it, their words don't mean anything, right? You have to believe it first. And the best way to believe it is to not make it something that's so intimidating that only like some godlike figure can do, right? Which is, I think, something that we convince ourselves of sometimes. At least I do. I convince myself that only certain people, like only certain amazing, magical people can do these things. When in reality, they're just people, and I'm people, and we're all flawed and fallible. So, you know, why can't I also just do that thing, right? But yeah, this is just like a reframing tool, a way to kind of get over that imposter syndrome, that fear of starting, because it starts with starting. That's it. And just showing up and just being there and just showing yourself that you're willing to just show up at the very least. And yeah, it could go to shit. It could be awful. And it also could be great, but you won't know until you just show up. Yeah, so I hope this episode was interesting. I hope this topic is interesting. I hope it gave you a little kick in the butt that you need, or some support, some motivation, whatever. It's something that I have to remind myself of all the time. So I think it's important that I make an entire episode devoted to it, even if it's a short one. Yeah, again, if you want to work with me one-to-one, feel free to book on my website, buy some of my books if you want more information on these topics, and check out my TikTok where I talk about these things a lot, like every day, you know. Yeah, I will be back again next week with another episode.